Okay, the chairman, Beeston Group, and of this occasion, Your Majesty, Your Imperial Majesty, the Oni of Ife, all the royal fathers present here, to their members of the National Assembly, Lagos State, the Group Managing Director, Beeston Group, the dynamic, amazing, Your Royal Highness, Dr. Becky Olubukola, many distinguished guests here today, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Mrs. Jane Kimemia Nechi, and I am the CEO of Optiva Capital Partners. We are an investments, immigration, and wealth management advisory firm. And apart from our 3 areas of focus, which is investment, immigration, or options, wealth management and insurance, we've got a big focus on development finance. And this is the reason why we are partnering with the Beeston Group on funding, on financial advisory, on structuring, and on making sure that this great initiative, Property in a Sachet, PIS, by the grace of God, will continue to succeed and to address the housing gap in a significant way. The theme of this event today is Property in a Sachet, a gateway to a better way. And I think, very honestly, it sounds like a no-brainer, genius initiative by the Beeston Group. Property in a Sachet is the concept of the small economy actually world over, is applicable across all areas in terms of consumables or ways of living. But the only area that has not been addressed in a significant way to talk about small economy, which is about affordability, is housing. And that's why, you know, when you talk about property in a sachet, gateway to a better way, it's simply a response to one of the most basic needs of the society, housing. The right to adequate housing is actually a human right, and it's recognized in the international human rights law as part of the right to adequate standard of living. And actually in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, shelter is a physiological need. It's a basic need, as basic as food and water. Yet, access to decent, affordable housing has remained a privilege of a few people or the rich in the society. The PIS, Property in a Sachet, is the answer and the response to the much needed, basically the intervention to affordable housing, to access and to supply to affordability. You know, I was looking at the numbers, and the numbers are all there. We talk about the national housing deficit in Nigeria, documented at 23 million. I believe it's actually more. In Lagos, I was reading and they say that the housing deficit is 3.2 million units. And this continues to grow. So with the current national population of, I think, 220 million, and a growth rate of 2.4%, with rural-urban migration, this deficit continues to grow. Hence the need for an intervention that starts to plug into this gap in a significant way. So congratulations to Beeston Group, honestly, on this amazing initiative that will start to address the housing deficit. I keep saying in a significant way, because I think there are efforts, but everything has just been a tinkering around the edges. There hasn't been anything that will provide the skill that is required in this economy. So the PIS, or property in a sachet, what does it do first of all? It's a supply, it's a large-scale supply of decent and affordable shelter. We are basically, the chairman, the Oni of Ife, talked about manufacturing. That instead of building, we need to address this issue by manufacturing homes. So that is number one, supply. Number two, which is a big issue, is affordability. And the speakers before have talked a lot about funding, long-term funding, activating the mortgage industry. My background is banking. I previously worked for 2 banks. I worked for Barclays Bank for about 12 years of my early career, and I worked for Standard Chartered Bank for 8 years before coming to Optiva Capital Partners. I remember one time we had a conference, an unsecured and secured lending conference that we organized for Africa in Dubai. And we were talking about mortgages and lending. And I had not been to Nigeria. I was looking after East Africa, but this was an African conference. But when we kept talking about the mortgage numbers, I could not understand why my Nigerian counterparts were not committing to any numbers as far as mortgages are concerned. So you look at the population of 200 million people, and that was Standard Chartered, and they'd commit to something like, they'll say, we are going to do 10 mortgages in a month. And we were taken aback, like, why? So, talking about affordability, I think really this initiative will start to address and activate the mortgage market. I am persuaded that long-term funding is available, very honestly. Long-term funding is available in sticky deposits. Sticky deposits are the retail deposits we all have. 1 million naira, 500,000 naira. Banks, that is what banks call the sticky deposits, because they are sustainable. There's always going to be the 1 million, 2 million. And the basis of long-term retail lending is actually the sticky deposits. If you look at the asset deposit ratios across our banks, honestly, there's a lot of work to do. And I think I saw an initiative by the CBN to say that banks need to achieve an asset deposit ratio of 65%. So they need to lend the deposits. These are the retail deposits. But how much is really lent to real economy, to mortgages, to long term? Some people will need 5-year mortgages. Some people will need 10 years. Nigeria is a very rich market. Some will need 25 years. So the Property in a Sachet initiative also will address that affordability, and I think it's going to really challenge the financial sector, the banks, to start thinking about how can we partner together to be able to provide funding and mortgages to the population. And basically, it's lending back the very money they have deposited with the banks. We have partners. I continue to work with the Beeston Group, with partners who are willing, they are ready, willing, and able to basically facilitate these. We've had some very amazing meetings, and I am very confident that we are going to start to address these. We have partners who are asking that we want to come in for a minimum. One of our partners said we want to come in for a minimum. We just want to be assured we can do a minimum of 10,000 units in a year. So funds are available globally, but it's the structures, the confidence that we need to give investors for them to be able to. People want to come into Nigeria. People want to lend. People want to participate and partake of these, the biggest economy in Nigeria, in Africa. I just came from Mauritius yesterday, and I had meetings with international funding partners. Mauritius is a financial capital. There's real interest to come into Nigeria, but whom do they work with? What are the structures? What is the stability of the currency? How do we bring in money and be sure that it's $100 million, because that is required in this economy? But how are they going to be able to repatriate their investment when that time is due? And these are the challenges that we need to start to address. So, property in a sachet, we are very excited to be partnering with Bistan Group, because this is not just about a roof over people's heads. It's about bringing dignity into lives. It's about quality of life. It's about improved standards of living for the children. It's about economic empowerment. I love the Not Too Young to Own a Home initiative. It's about encouraging the young people to start thinking that actually you can start saving at 25 on your first job, and you can actually afford to buy a property. It's going to be possible with PIS initiative. It's about that shift in mindset, a savings and investments culture that we will continue to build. It's about a sense of pride and satisfaction. I remember what it was like to own my first house, into a second one and a third. And that's gonna be possible for everybody. It's not a preserve. As long as people are working, it should be possible for them to own the roof over their head. We talked about the rent to own. The chairman, the Oni of Optiva, talked about the rent to own initiative, which is amazing. Is to say, I'm already paying 100,000 naira a month. We set up structures to be possible to pay up to maybe 30% above, or even 20 to 30% of my rent, but towards a structure that will enable me to finally own my home. And that is possible because people pay rent for a lifetime. So how do we convert rent into a mortgage, into what I will finally own? So it's not just about a roof over our head, it's about sustainable communities. It's about an ecosystem that would deliver not only the promise of housing, but sustainable development. You know, I'm looking at, companies, international companies or countries measure their impact now, and the speaker before me, the son just spoke about sustainable development goals. And if you look at Property in a Sachet initiative, it actually addresses 15 out of the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So, number one, you're talking about no poverty. We're talking about zero hunger. Talking about good health and well-being. That's a tick. We're talking about quality education, gender equality, because when we talk about communities of 10,000, 5,000 homes, the people who are going to build those homes are going to be Nigerians. It's going to be us. So, and we're going to ensure, you see the group managing director is a woman. So women empowerment continues to be at the forefront of everything that we're doing. We're talking about clean water and sanitation, which is one of the sustainable development goals. We're talking about affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth. The huge young population, people are looking for opportunities to go to work, to earn a living. The average age in Nigeria is 18. And this is a powerhouse of opportunity that we have to put our young people to work for economic development. So we are talking about industry, innovation, and infrastructure. We are talking about reduced inequality, that the fact that I work in the market, I'm a trader, that I can own a home, the fact that I'm a trader on the sides of the street, I can actually own a home as long as I'm working. We are talking about sustainable cities and communities. That is goal number 11. Goal number 12, we're talking about responsible consumption and production. The production, the cottage industries that will be as a result of the property in a sachet, the doors, the furniture, the windows, it really is going to activate the local cottage industry. And that is about responsible consumption and production. We're talking about peace, justice, and strong institutions. That's what we are going to build. We're talking about partnership for goals, which is goal number 17, because we're not going to be able to achieve these. It's partnership between the public, the government, the private sector, all the different stakeholders that actually make up what is the ecosystem of property in a sachet. We are talking about water desalination supply. We are talking about infrastructure, waste management, and regeneration. So when you look at the Property in a Sachet initiative, it sounds like it's just a roof over our head, but it's an entire ecosystem that talk about real development and real growth. So on behalf of my chairman at Optiva Capital Partners, I would like to take this opportunity once again to congratulate the Beeston Group, led by the chairman, the group managing director, and to reaffirm our commitment to continue to work and to walk with you in this amazing journey that is about transformation of lives. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone.